Asterisk the Discovery DR. Elena Vasquez pressed her fingers against her tired eyes and stared at the quantum array display. The night shift at Prometheus Watch was usually quiet, but tonight something was different. The Deep Space Monitoring Station floated silently at the edge of human territory, its massive sensor arrays constantly scanning for threats or anomalies. "Still getting those weird readings?" asked Lieutenant Sarah Kim, walking over with 2 cups of coffee. Elena accepted the coffee gratefully. "It's not just weird anymore, Sarah. Look at this." She pointed to the holographic display, showing wave patterns that seemed to pulse with mathematical precision. "This signal is coming from beyond the Andromeda Drift, approximately 400 light-years from here." Sarah studied the patterns, her tactical training helping her recognize the artificial nature of the transmission. "That's definitely not natural cosmic background radiation. The intervals are too regular, too purposeful." "Exactly. But here's the strange part." Elena manipulated the display, showing a deeper analysis. "The signal is using quantum entanglement principles I've never seen before. It's not just encoded, it's encrypted using quantum mechanics as the base language." Captain Marcus Chon entered the communications center, his weathered face showing concern. "Status report, Dr. Vasquez. We've got a confirmed artificial signal. From deep space, Captain. Unknown origin, but the technology involved is ... impressive." Elena highlighted specific portions of the data. "The signal strength suggests either enormous power output or some kind of quantum amplification technology we don't understand." Chon studied the display. "Any idea what it's saying?" "I'm working on it. The mathematical base is universal, but the encryption is like nothing in our databases. Give me a few more hours." As Elena worked through the night, the patterns slowly began to make sense. The alien encryption was based on quantum state changes, using probability mathematics that Earth scientists were only beginning to understand. Each burst of the signal contained layers of information, packed efficiently using quantum compression. "I think I've got something," Elena announced as dawn approached. Her colleagues gathered around her workstation, where lines have translated. Text appeared on the screen. "We are the Velothi of the third spiral. Our world burns under the shadow of the Syndex Collective. Our cities fall one by one to their harvesting machines. We send this message to anyone who might hear, though we know death approaches." The room fell silent. Sarah was the first to speak. "This is a distress call." Elena nodded grimly. "There's more." She activated the next section of the translation. "The Syndex Collective consumes worlds. They strip planets of resources, harvest populations for biological material, and move on. Our calculations show they are expanding in a pattern that will bring them to this galactic region within solar cycles." Captain Shun leaned forward. "How long is a solar cycle for their species?" "Based on the astronomical data they've included, approximately 2 Earth years." Elena pulled up a star chart that had been embedded in the message. "They've mapped their projected expansion route. If they continue at this rate, they'll reach our outer colonies in about 4 years." The implications hit everyone simultaneously. This wasn't just a cry for help from a dying civilization. It was a warning about a threat heading directly toward human space. "Get me Admiral Torres immediately," Chon ordered. "Priority Alpha transmission." Within hours, the message was racing toward Fleet Command headquarters in the Sol system. Admiral Rebecca Torres read the translation in her office overlooking the massive shipyards of Mars. She was a veteran of the border wars, a woman who had earned her position through tactical brilliance and unwavering determination. "Confirmed alien contact," she murmured to herself. "And they're bringing us a war." The emergency council session was called for the following day. Representatives from every human colony, military branch, and research institution gathered in. the secure chamber beneath Luna City. The room buzzed with nervous energy as Admiral Torres entered. "Ladies and gentlemen," Torres began, "we face a situation unprecedented in human history. We have received a distress signal from an alien species under attack by what appears to be an expansionist military collective. This collective, the Syndex, is moving in our direction." She activated the holographic display, showing the Velothi star charts. The Velothi have provided detailed information about their attackers. The Syndex collective appears to be a hive mind species that conquers worlds for resources. They've already destroyed 17 civilizations in their expansion. Dr. Harrison Webb, the Council's chief scientist, studied the data. "What do we know about their technology?" "Advanced in some ways, limited in others," Torres replied. "They use organic technology, ships that are essentially living creatures. Energy-based weapons, adaptive shielding, and biological computing systems. But there's something interesting about their methodology." She highlighted specific portions of the Velothi intelligence. The Syndex expect their enemies to be similar to other species they've encountered. Physically fragile, technologically dependent, and psychologically unprepared for total war. They've never faced an enemy like us. General Patricia Stonehoff. The Marine Corps leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" "I'm suggesting that humanity might be the first species the Syndex encounter that's actually capable of fighting back effectively. The Velothi describe them as unstoppable, but they're measuring them against species that evolved on gentle worlds." The room erupted in discussion. Some argued for strengthening human defenses and waiting for the Syndex to arrive. Others pushed for immediate military intervention. The debate continued for hours. Finally, President Maria Santos called for order. "Admiral Torres, if we decided to intervene, what would that look like?" Torres had been preparing for this question. "Full fleet deployment, Madam President. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon system we have. This would be the largest military operation in human history." "The entire fleet?" Dr. Webb looked shocked. "We've never deployed our full military force for any operation. We've never faced an enemy like this," Torres replied. "The Syndex have conquered 17 civilizations. They have hundreds of ships, millions of biological soldiers, and technology. We're only beginning to understand. If we're going to help the Velothi and protect ourselves, we need to hit them with everything we have." The logistics officer, Commander Patricia Hayes, pulled up deployment calculations. "Admiral, coordinating forces from across human space would take months. The supply chains alone would be enormous." "We can do it," Torres said firmly. "Our military was designed for exactly this kind of operation. We've been building toward interstellar warfare since we first left Earth." President Santos studied the faces around the table. "This decision will define humanity's role in the galaxy. Are we a species that helps others, or one that only protects itself?" The vote was closer than expected, but the decision was made. Operation Stellar Shield was authorized. For the first time in human history, the entire military would be mobilized. For a single mission, within hours, activation codes were transmitted to every human military installation across the galaxy. The message was simple but unprecedented. Full fleet deployment authorized. All forces converge on Titan base. Humanity goes to war. The response was immediate and overwhelming. From the mining colonies of the Outer Rim to the agricultural worlds of the mid-spiral, ships began moving toward the rallying point. Massive cargo vessels carrying supplies, hospital ships preparing for casualties, and warships of every class and configuration. Elena found herself reassigned to the flagship U.E.'s Defiance, her expertise in quantum communications making her essential for the mission. As she watched the growing fleet through the viewport, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. "Incredible, isn't it?" Captain Chun had joined her at the observation deck. He too had been reassigned, now serving as the fleet's intelligence coordinator. "I've never seen anything like it," Elena replied. "There must be over 2,000 ships out there." 2,437, to be exact, Chun corrected. "And more arriving every hour." Asterisk, the ships were impressive, not just in number, but in their construction. Human vessels were built differently from what the Valathi had described of other species. Where aliens favored efficiency and elegance, humans built for war. Their ships were armored fortresses, bristling with weapons and designed to absorb massive damage. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the final preparations. Her fleet was ready. In 6 hours, they would make the jump to Valathi space, traveling farther from Earth than any human force had ever gone. Asterisk. "Admiral," Elena approached with the latest intelligence update, "we've received another message from the Valathi. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. The Syndex have broken through their outer defenses." Torres nodded grimly. "How long due?" "They have? Days, maybe hours. Their last transmission was very weak." The Admiral looked out at her fleet, 2.5 million personnel ready to fight for people they'd never met. "Then we'd better not keep them waiting." The intervention, the Valathi system, was a vision of destruction when the human fleet arrived. What had once been a thriving star system with multiple inhabited worlds was now a battlefield. Massive organic ships, each the size of a small city, moved between the planets like predators circling wounded prey. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the tactical display update in real time. "Status report, Commander Sullivan." Commander Jake Sullivan, now serving as the fleet's tactical coordinator, studied the sensor data. "Confirmed Syndex presence, Admiral. Approximately 300 organic vessels of various sizes. They're conducting systematic harvesting operations on 2 planets. Elena worked frantically at her communication station. "I'm detecting weak signals from the planet's surface. The Valathi are still alive, but their transmissions are fragmenting." "Can you establish contact?" Torres asked. "Working on it." Elena's fingers flew across the quantum communication array. "The Syndex are jamming most frequencies, but I might be able to punch through using quantum entanglement." The breakthrough came minutes later. A weak voice, speaking in the musical tones of the Valathi language, came through the speakers. Elena's translation program worked to convert the words into English. "Unknown vessels, this is Kethvar of the Valathi Defense Council. We cannot believe you came. We thought our message had been lost in the void." Torres activated the response. "System, Kethvar, this is Admiral Rebecca Torres of the human fleet. We received your distress signal. We're here to help." The response was filled with emotion. "Humans? We have never heard of your species. How many ships do you have?" "Enough," Torres replied simply. "What's your current situation?" "The Syndex have overrun our orbital defenses. They're harvesting our population centers. We estimate 12 million of our people are already gone. We cannot hold them much longer." Commander Sullivan updated the tactical display. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the Syndex vessels. They're definitely using biological technology, but it's more advanced than anything we've encountered." "What about their defenses?" Torres asked. "Adaptive shielding, energy absorption capabilities, and self-repair systems. But Admiral, there's something odd about their design. The ships are built for efficiency, not durability. They're not armored like our vessels." Elena intercepted another transmission, this one from the Syndex Collective. The voice was cold, mechanical, speaking in perfect mathematical harmony. "Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Syndex operations. Withdraw immediately or be consumed." Torres smiled grimly. "Respond to the Syndex, Dr. Vasquez. Tell them the humans decline their offer." "Yes, Admiral." Should I explain why? No need. They're about to find out. The first engagement began when a squadron of Syndex scout vessels moved to intercept the human fleet. The alien ships were beautiful in their own way, flowing organic curves that seemed to pulse with internal light. They moved with fluid grace, their biotechnology allowing for maneuvers no mechanical ship could achieve. But beauty and grace meant nothing when the human weapons opened fire. The UE's Thunderstrike, a heavy cruiser, unleashed a barrage of kinetic rounds that tore through the Syndex shields like they were made of paper. The alien ships, built to deflect energy weapons, had no defense against solid projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. The lead Syndex vessel disintegrated in a shower of organic debris. The others tried to adapt their shields, shifting to counter the kinetic assault. But the human ships had already switched to energy weapons, overwhelming the confused defensive systems. Syndex vessels neutralized, Commander Sullivan reported. No human casualties. The response from the Syndex collective was immediate and massive. Every ship in the system began converging on the human fleet. The organic vessels moved with purpose, their biotechnology allowing them to coordinate as a single organism. All ships, battle formation, Torres ordered. Let them come. The human fleet arranged itself in a formation that would have been impossible for any other species. Instead of elegant curves or energy-efficient patterns, they formed a wall of steel and firepower. Each ship was positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire, creating a defensive barrier that could absorb enormous punishment while returning devastating attacks. The Syndex assault was unlike anything in human military history. The organic ships came in waves, their bioweapons firing streams of directed energy that could melt through most materials. Their adaptive shields absorbed the first few human attacks, learning and adjusting to counter each weapon type. Syndex had never faced an enemy that could adapt faster than they could. Switch to rotating frequency weapons, Torres commanded. Don't let them adapt to any single system. The human fleet began cycling through different weapon types faster than the Syndex could adjust. Kinetic rounds, plasma cannons, particle beams, and electromagnetic pulse weapons created a chaotic barrage that overwhelmed the alien adaptive systems. More importantly, the human ships were built to take damage. When Syndex energy weapons broke through their shields, they struck armor plating designed to withstand the worst possible conditions. The organic weapons, evolved to fight fragile alien vessels, couldn't penetrate the human defensive systems. Admiral, Elena called out, I'm receiving a transmission from the Syndex collective. They're asking for terms. Torres raised an eyebrow. Terms? They want to negotiate. They're offering to withdraw from this system in exchange for safe passage. The Admiral considered this. Around them, the battle continued, but it was clear the Syndex were being systematically destroyed. Human ships that should have been crippled were still fighting, their crews making repairs even while under fire. Tell them the terms are simple, Torres said. Complete withdrawal from all Velathi territory, release of all captured populations, and a guarantee that they will never again attack innocent civilizations. The response came quickly. The Syndex collective does not negotiate with prey species. Ben, tell them, Torres replied, that we're not prey. The final phase of the battle was devastating for the Syndex. Their organic ships, designed to fight species that would surrender or flee when faced with overwhelming force, couldn't cope with an enemy that simply refused to give up. Human ships that had lost engines continued, fighting with maneuvering thrusters. Vessels with shattered hulls maintained fire as long as their weapons remained functional. Asterisk. The Syndex collective, for the first time in their expansion, encountered a species that was more ruthless than they were. Admiral, Commander Sullivan reported, remaining Syndex vessels are withdrawing. They're retreating beyond sensor range. Torres nodded. Damage report? 14 ships lost, 43 severely damaged. But Admiral, we've accomplished something unprecedented. We've defeated a hive mind collective that's conquered 17 civilizations. Elena's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, I'm receiving a transmission from the Valathi. Cathvar wants to speak with you. The holographic display activated, showing the image of an alien unlike anything humans had encountered. Cathvar was tall and graceful, with features that seemed to shift between crystalline and organic. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of profound gratitude. Admiral Torres, the Valathi people owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. You have saved not just our civilization, but our very existence. We offer you our eternal friendship and alliance. Torres smiled. The universe is a dangerous place, Cathvar. Sometimes the strong have to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Your species is remarkable, Cathvar continued. We have studied your ships, your tactics, your refusal to surrender, even when facing impossible odds. Are all human vessels built like fortresses? We come from a dangerous world, Torres explained. We learned long ago that sometimes the only way to ensure peace is to be prepared for war. Over the following days, the human fleet worked with Valathi survivors to establish a permanent defense network. The Syndex Collective, having learned that humans were not prey, avoided human space entirely. But more importantly, word spread throughout the galaxy about the species that had driven back the unstoppable collective. Elena found herself working with Valathi scientists, sharing quantum communication technology while learning about their advanced energy systems. The partnership was proving beneficial for both species. Dr. Vasquez, Cathvar, approached her in the joint research facility they had established. Your species has given us hope. For the first time in cycles, we believe there is a future for peaceful civilizations. Elena smiled. The universe is full of species who just want to live in peace. Sometimes they need someone to stand up for them. Indeed. And we have learned that humanity is that someone. As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking out at the restored Valathi system. The planets were healing, the population was rebuilding, and the Syndex were nowhere to be seen. Mission accomplished, she said to herself. Commander Sullivan joined her at the viewport. Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Other species are requesting human protection. Word about our victory over the Syndex has spread. Torres nodded. Then we'd better start building more ships. It seems like humanity just became the galaxy's guardian. Elena's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, we're receiving a message from Earth. President Santos is asking for a full report on the mission. Tell her the mission was successful, Torres replied. And tell her we're going to need a bigger fleet. As the human ships prepared to depart, the Valathi launched a celebration that could be seen from orbit. Light displays, musical performances, and demonstrations of gratitude filled the night sky. For the first time in their history, the Valathi felt truly safe. The human fleet began its journey home, but they left behind more than just grateful allies. They had established humanity's reputation as the species that protected the innocent, defeated the invincible, and never surrendered in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just another species. They were the apex predators who chose to use their strength to protect rather than conquer. And that made all the difference.